Guys, today it's the day, it's official. Emax has released a brand new quad. This one is a ready-to-fly bundle for beginners, intermediate, and more experienced pilots to kind of get into the category of FPV racing for nano whoop style quads. This one has also been updated. It's kind of just imagine it's in between the original Nanohawk and a Tinyhawk, and the Nanoscout is somewhere right in the middle. So what they're trying to do with this particular drone, we're gonna just get into this right off the bat. This little quad is sort of their idea of people that wanted to get into FPV racing, but you want something that is gonna be a little more durable than, say, the Nanohawk. It was ultra light, but it had issues with braking or things having to be replaced. And sometimes when they're ultra light and ultra fast, you end up with more things getting damaged and more repairs. So their idea with this particular quad, the Nanoscout, allows people to have that same sort of high-speed racing right out of the gate, but also have a little bit of durability. So in other words, this one's more of an all-arounder type of tiny whoop, and this one fits the tiny whoop category because it is a 65mm true tiny whoop size with this 1S battery. We have the Emax 1S 320 milliamp batteries that we're going to run on this, and they're saying we can get up to about 4 minutes flight time per battery. So in the tiny whoop category, in that arena, that's a pretty good flight time for something that's 65mm. They also have a way to unlock the VTX on here from 25 milliwatt and make this 400 milliwatt VTX. So it should get you a nice range. They also extended the dipole off the top of this quad, and they have their brand new open source connector on here. Dual ball bearing, brand new motors for this one as well. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff on this quad. First thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna fly it. We're just gonna jump right into the flight test, and then we'll come back and we'll check this out on the bench. And I'll show you what's included in this brand new ready to fly kit, the Nanoscout ready to fly kit. Here we go. Guys, welcome back from that fun flight test. This is the case that you get with it. It has a grab handle on the top, sort of a canvas outside. It has an extra thick zipper, and it also has space inside enough for the quad, the goggles, the radio, and your extra accessories. And when you open the box up, this is how everything fits inside. We have the quad here, accessories pouch. We have the radio here with a Velcro strap, and the goggles here with a Velcro strap as well. The Nanoscout on the scale by itself, on my scale, I'm getting 23.3 grams. With the 3S 320 milliamp battery, I'm getting it up to 32.2 grams total takeoff weight. So now that you know the weight of the quad, the Nanoscout, just looking at it, it's already a little beast. It's definitely beefier than the original Nanohawk. It was an ultralight, very fast, but again, it had problems with things breaking on you. So high speed at a light weight sometimes comes at a cost, but if you're building your own whoops at that point, you know, you guys are always tinkering with stuff, and some of you guys just don't care about that. But if you're the kind of person who wants something that's just, you're going to be able to fly it and it's going to be stupid, like stupid durable, this little guy is going to be definitely one of those that you can just pick up and fly and join a little tiny whoop race without breaking it every time you hit something hard. Because the thing about tiny whoops is we're constantly hitting super hard things in the house, and these little quads are not meant to be crashed into a 2x4 or a wall or a chair and things like that. That's the hardest surface that you can crash these little quads into. And you know, even though they're light, sometimes they do have little things that break somewhere inside, or a wire pops off. I've had all kinds of different things happen. But what they've done with this quad, I mean, as you can see, like it's just beefed up all the way around. The prop guards are extra thick right here. We've got 4 struts on the bottom. We have a rubber band holding the battery in place with this cage here, front to back orientation for the battery. And we have a beefed up canopy across the top, around the sides, and a ton of security on the front for protecting the camera in a frontal crash. Probably one of my favorite things about it is that even though it's kind of super small, it's a little mini tank, it does come with a Runcam Nano 3 on here. So that's a nice little tiny little camera. And we also have an F4 flight controller with 6 amp ESCs, and it's an upgraded Emax flight controller because I'm noticing something new on this one that I haven't seen on some of the previous flight controllers, as a USB-C connector right here, which is really nice. So most of my cables now are becoming USB-C around the house, and I don't have as many of those old school USB cables anymore just laying around. So yeah, with that Android connector on there. So 4 bolts hold this top canopy on. You can take that off, and it is plug and play motors. If you look on the sides, you can see that these motors plug in. So if you're somebody new and you bust out a motor, you can unplug it. If you buy a new motor, you can just plug a new one back in. Now, the other cool thing about this is that the VTX is unlockable. You can go into your settings, and you can use smart audio, and you can change bands and channels, but you can make this a 400 milliwatt. If you look on the very bottom of the quad, there's a little button right in the center right here between these 2 rubber bands. If you take your bamboo skewer and you hold down this button for about 5 to 6 seconds, it will flash, and then you will unlock the 400 milliwatt setting on the VTX. And what I think is kind of cool about this quad is the fact that, well, the flight controller and the ESCs are all one board here. And then below it, there is a separate board for the VTX. So this is not kind of all built into one single board. It's actually pretty nice that it is a separate VTX because it lets us get that 400 milliwatt without overheating the flight controller. Now, it also has an IPEX connector on the side running out through the top, in the back right here by the USB-C connector. And this is an extended dipole, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of times when you get at a distance with a whoop and it's a tucked in little dipole, sometimes you're going to have kind of interference to your goggles coming back. You're going to lose connection, and this will just allow you to extend it up. You could even kind of put a little mini zip tie up here and have it standing straight up if you wanted to, or just let it kind of hang out the back right there. But an extended antenna definitely helps for flying at range. Now let's talk about the power system. We talked about the flight controller, the F4 flight controller on here, the USB-C upgrade, the upgraded dipole and all that stuff, and the connector. Now, powering all of that is the brand new motors on here, the brand new props that they designed. It's just cool. There's so much brand new stuff on this quad. It's like they completely redesigned this quad for this release. Now, you're looking at the brand new props. They're called the Avia Nanoscout propeller. And so it's specifically for the Nanoscout. And this one is a 31 millimeter prop. It does have a little bit of a tapered end on it, kind of a medium to wide chord here in the center. And then it's narrowed out at the hub. And I believe it's a 1 millimeter shaft. But that really, in the long run, it doesn't matter because these props are specifically designed for it. But we can find out what these shaft sizes are. They may be 0.8, they may be 1 mil. So we can find that out from Emax, and maybe they'll post that in the comments. But below it is where kind of the secret sauce power comes in on this quad. We have 3 bolts holding these motors on, and these are brand new motors that have been designed for this specific frame and power system. They're 08015, and they're 22,000 kV, which is somewhere in the middle because we've seen some super high kV motors lately on whoops. So this won't kind of get you in a lot of trouble and be super overpowered. Sometimes making you kind of fly off of a corner and a turn and things like that. So you should have nice controlled and maintainable power with these motors. But what I like about them the most is that they're dual ball bearing. Even as small as they are, somehow Emax incorporated a dual ball bearing design inside this motor, which is increasing efficiency and really nice power on the high end of the throttle. And speaking of that power system, this is what's powering it. This is the battery with the EM 2.0 connector on this end. And you know I have a really nice camera when you can read this text, because if you're to see this in person, it's I would say most people won't be able to read this text on this battery. So I'm doing a service to the community by showing this. Up at the top it says LiPo battery, and it says full charge at 4.35 volt, which is awesome. And then it says prohibition of reverse charging. So it does say that this battery has reverse polarity protection with this connector on here. So you're not going to be able to plug it in wrong, because it only has one way that you can plug this in. And positive is always going to be positive, negative is always going to be negative, and there's no reverse plugging these in, because that does happen sometimes accidentally with, say, like an old school PH 2.0 connector and some of the other connectors that we've had out there. But that's nice to have reverse polarity protection built into this style connector, and more power, more efficient. Now in my box, I got this 6-up charger with it. It has the EM 2.0 connectors on here. You can charge up to 6 batteries at once. And there are no switches on this charger. It's just a simple charger that plugs into any USB port. And it charges at an HV standard to the cells on these LiPos. These are 4.35 volt since they are HV LiPos. And that's just going to extend your flight time a little longer. So let's talk about the other things that comes along with it, like specifically the transmitter. This hasn't really changed a lot from the last Tinyhawk releases and the Nanohawk style controller. I do like it because it feels like a full-size controller, and it has regular size sticks. It's not like a little tiny game style remote. And it also has the option up top. If you want to, you can put this accessory on the top of it. It comes in the box, and it just allows you to take the monitor off of your goggles. If you want to start out flying kind of with a monitor here like this, you can do it that way, or you can slap it into the goggles here and it becomes a set of FPV goggles. I think what I like the most about this entire setup is that type of modularity, but also the fact that these have a DVR built into them. So the SD card goes in right here, and I wish they would have made maybe the power button like a red button or something that's more identifiable, because it is kind of hard to see the icons on each of these little buttons on the side of the monitor. If I was to be kind of critical about it, we have bands here, channels, record button there. Maybe put a little red paint marker dab on this so you can kind of find your record button quickly. But it does have a built-in battery here, and it has an old school USB charging port right here. And once it's full, it'll be full green on the side. And it's just letting us know if you let it sit for a long time, it'll start to beep, and you don't move the sticks. Now, same thing on the transmitter itself. You have these switches here on the top for disarm and arming the drone, beginner mode, intermediate, and expert mode. And up here we have a beeper. So it has a kind of a, not a very loud beeper, which during a windy day, that would be hard to hear outside. It also has turtle mode here, and you have a transmitter strap here. We have an indicator light here for connection to the quad, trim buttons, which I don't really use, and it has a little port on the very bottom of it for plugging in a USB-C connector, and that way it'll charge the battery in the back here. And this is an 18650 battery, which is kind of nice. So if you want to bring an extra 18650 along to an event or something like that, you can have a backup transmitter battery with you in case that one dies. And if you want to mount your monitor on your transmitter, this is the way it looks. This is the setup that you'll have if you decide to fly it like this. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what are we getting out of a Nanoscout ready to fly kit? For our community, it's something that can be sort of an all-around go-to for a ready to fly option for guys that just want to have something that they can kind of use as a little beater, something that you can learn on, and something that's not going to break every time you hit something and crash into the ground. Recently, I had talked to a guy who emailed me, and I try to help you guys out sometime if I can. If I can help you with an order or a technical issue, if you're trying to contact these companies, some of them are Chinese companies, and tech support or customer service is different in China versus the US. And a lot of people don't realize that getting into the FPV hobby. They're like, why won't GEP RC or why won't HGLRC respond to my email? And sometimes it could be that your email got lost in the queue or someone just plainly ignored it. If that happens, just shoot me an email and we'll see if we can contact the company directly for you as far as customer service goes. And maybe I can speed up your process if you're waiting for an order or anything like that. Don't bombard me with emails, but Emax, my point is Emax is one of those companies that is also has offices in the US. So I know Emax and a lot of that staff personally, and I know that they will take care of you if you have an issue. And you don't have to wait forever for it to ship from China because I believe they're shipping from the US, maybe at the California warehouse. So that's pretty awesome. So yeah, we have another kind of beginner friendly, all around durable little mini tank, 65 millimeter whoop available for guys who want to have something. And again, it's not going to break every freaking time you look at it. And with whoops, man, I've had some whoops last like 3 flights on me in the past, to be perfectly honest. This hobby can be kind of a minefield of things to purchase as far as getting reliable stuff that's just not going to be not working the first time you get it. So things are a little better nowadays in 2024 than they were back in 2016, 17 when they were rushing things out. So now they're kind of taking more care on their releases because we're having fewer releases. So in my opinion, I think we're getting higher quality and more R&D in the products that you're seeing show up on this channel because they're not coming out 5, 6, 7 at a time. We used to get 2, 3 quads a day. It was crazy back in those days. So now we've kind of streamlined a lot of the production. And as a result of that, I do think we're getting better stuff. But this was a fun review, and hopefully you learned something today watching this video. And it was a laid back, informative video for you. And if it is, please become my Patreon on the channel, because I spend a lot of time thinking about a lot of this stuff, researching it, reading about it for you, and flight testing things for you in an honest manner. And if I break something, I'll let you know for sure. But this one survived the drone camps test, which is pretty good, because I'm pretty hard on stuff. I fly it like it's not mine. I fly it like I stole it. So I hope you enjoyed that. You can check out my link down below and grab one if you want to. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll serve you well. But I appreciate you watching again. I'm Justin Davis, guys. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, and a Merry Christmas to you. Because it's coming, guys. Santa is coming. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.